Here I am on YouTube again today for the third stream today, and the intention is finishing this damn chapter tonight so I can start the next one tomorrow or even this evening, start working on the outline for the next chapter. So this is chapter 5 of my original outline for the book. After this, I have chapter 5.5 of the original outline to write.
Right.
Which means after that, I can start on 6. Go ahead and hit start all. I don't need to share this just to YouTube right now. But, yeah. So, this is chapter 5. After this, chapter 5.5. And then on to chapter 6. And if the pattern turns out to be what it has been, what's going to end up happening with chapter 6 is I'm going to do the next chapter after this one. Again, this is 5. I'll do 5.5, and then there will be some sort of a gap between the chapter that I do, 5.5, and the chapter 6 that I have planned in the outline, and I'll determine I need to do yet another chapter that I had not initially planned on, and spend some time on that, maybe, hopefully just a couple days, and then get to 6. And I'm iterating this because, like, I feel like when I get to the end of 6 is when I will be 1/3 of the way through with this current book that I'm working on. And this has been just a slog, just setting up this first third of the book, which is annoying. This isn't even the book that I want to be writing. This is the book that I wrote because romantasy is supposed to be a top-selling genre, and this is more of a mystery. So I have to make sure that I put in more romantic elements, create more romantic tension throughout as I'm writing it. But really, it's about getting it done so I can develop the habit, so I can have the win, so I can have another book published, so I can work on marketing, so I can work on promotion, so I can work on all the other aspects that go into being a full-time paid writer, because the job market is shit right now. And if the job market wasn't such shit, I don't know if I would be devoting all this time and energy to this. But having a hard day, feeling heartbroken, kind of devastated, but yeah, gotta keep working, gotta keep making progress. So, get my screen all set up. Okay. That's right. Where I left off this morning is Arista is being questioned by Albrecht about where she's from. And I was considering of actually like naming the kingdom that she's from for the first time in the 2 books that I've been working on with her. I've never bothered to name the kingdom. I think I was thinking something along the lines of like Abithria. I like something that has the sound of like abyss in it. Like she comes from an abyss. She comes from a trench in the ocean. I come from a vast kingdom, she said at last, larger than you could comprehend, entirely hidden from one such as you. The sky darkened even more as the air became electric. Garrett knew that Arista did not like to talk about her kingdom. Kingdom feels weird there. Talk about her homeland? It's not a homeland, it's a home sea, but let's say homeland instead. Homeland, duh. Too many memories about the home she lost and the family that betrayed her. Yeah, it doesn't. That sounds weird, but let's not fixate on that sound just yet. Like I've got the whole edit phase, which editing, editing is a whole other beast in and of itself. So, I hate how the beats get separated like that. Homeland is just bugging me. Talk about her upbringing. I misspelled that, didn't I? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Upbringing, too many memories about the home she lost and the family that betrayed her. So after that, Ulbrecht should press on. Now here's the important part. If Ulbrecht demands clarification, Arista will not lie, but she can omit. She might follow the name with something like, "It lies beneath waters your ships will never chart." Truthful, unhelpful, final. Yeah, I kind of got myself written into a corner here like I do. Okay. Yeah, I gotta focus on my work. I'm getting lost in thought. Just sucks. Really, really sucks. Um, to make some tea. See, hot water is, well, it's not hot yet. It's room temperature, but I got water going, and this is where I like to use ChatGPT. I'm thinking abyss something or other, but stuck on this next part. Feel like I've written myself into a corner and am stuck. Could use a creative boost. So what I like about this is it very seldom is it going to give me something where I'm like, that's it. But it'll give me something where I'm like, well, that's not it, but it gets me a little closer to being able to figure out what is it. So copy where I'm at, what I'm stuck with, C, go back to that, hit V, pop in my last lines, and see what it generates for me. You're not stuck, you're at a pressure point. Right now you have political interrogation, a collapsing king, a divine priestess present, a storm responding to Arista, her trauma hovering beneath the surface. If you push too hard into exposition, you flatten the tension. If you dodge the question entirely, it feels evasive. The solution is this. She answers, but she answers in a way that reveals scale, not history. You don't need lore, you need atmosphere. If you like abyss as a root, that's powerful, but don't make it generic. Avoid abyssia or abyssal kingdom, too obvious. Instead, think in terms of something that sounds like it predates language. Here are some refined abyss root options that feel primordial rather than fantasy, cliche. Aberith, Abithray, Abyssara, Abyssara. It's a little too on the nose because it actually has the word abyss in it. Abithera, Aboleth, the abyssal throne of Valor, the crown of Aberith, no, Abyssa, of those Aberith and Abithray, feel especially ancient and sharp. Abithray. What if it was Abithria? So take what it's giving me, which is A-B-Y-T-H-R-A-E, and make that A-B-Y-T-H-R-E-A, Abithria. I just don't want to make fun of people with lisps. That's Abithria. 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 What if it was Abitria, and I got rid of the H? Abitrea, Abitrea, Abitrea. Just because I'm thinking about a name that would be spoken underwater. Because you wouldn't underwater, or even underwater, I don't know if that sound would really carry as much as like a hard T. So a hard T sounds more natural. Abitrea, 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 Abitrea. That's... Betraya. Thunder rolled low and distant. Aberect held his gaze. Name it. The paws stretched. I like that. I like that. Super Mojo. Yeah. Where he just says, name it. The paws stretched. Damn it. This is decent. This is decent. This is... Damn it. Yeah. Damn it. He's not going to come up with anything good. No, this is good. This works. I can accept this. Yeah. Of course, with everything that I put in, like I borrow from it. Well, I don't borrow from it. I flat out just rip what it produces in cases like this, but then go through and change it like a bit. Shreya, Eritrea, she said, and then the spacing is all fucked up. Thunder rolled low and distant. Elbrecht held her gaze. Words fell like stone. The paws stretched. No. The wind howled. Bruce's eyes flicked just briefly toward the shutter windows, toward the storm gathering beyond them. Eritrea, she said. Wistfully, as though calling out to it. Nearly a whisper. The word fell heavy, not loud, not dramatic. His words fell like stone, the word fell heavy. Faint tremor moved through the hall, or perhaps it was the whole wind. Perhaps it was only the wind pressing against stone. Felt like a rock. Elbric's expression did not change. I have never heard of it. I have not heard of it. No, she replied evenly, you have not. A flicker of something old passed through her eyes. It lies beneath your maps, beneath your trade routes, beneath the bones of ships that have thought themselves mighty. That's a little too obvious. Beneath the history of your world. Silence followed. Even Paravel paused. Kalen's gaze sharpened. Pointed ears pricked. Garrett felt the distance in her voice. Not pride, not arrogance. Loss. Notice what this does. She answers directly. She does not lie. She does not over-explain. Storm responds subtly. Kalen becomes important. Garrett senses the emotional fracture. You avoid dumping lore. Most importantly, you are not boxed in. Later, you can decide: was Aberth destroyed? Was it betrayed? Did the Primordial fall? Did Arista leave willingly? Nothing here locks you into specifics. Here's a creative boost question to unlock the next move. Does Kalen recognize the name? If she does, even slightly, that changes everything. If she does not, then the kingdom truly is hidden. If she does, and says something like, that realm was not meant for surface blood, you've just escalated the mythic stakes. You're not stuck. You're about to widen the world. If you want, I can help you decide what Kalen says next, and that line will determine whether this becomes political intrigue or cosmic tension. I think this is where I use an M dash. There we go. Except this is that. All right. Thrown at her. This is where I went with that. Kayleen wouldn't even know it. Maybe she should have some awareness of it, but from lore or a source she can't remember. Here is what I went with. I'm kind of hurting right now. The wife offered to stop by for a little bit after her gym class today, and I just told her not to because I don't want to just be an afterthought. I don't want to be begging for scraps of her time is what I said exactly. And then instead of a Friday night Valentine's Day date, tomorrow she's going to hang out with her fucking toxic ass friend who every time she spends more time with her, we end up getting into fights and having issues in our fucking marriage. Oh, this is good. Abitrea is soft in the mouth but heavy in tone. It feels submerged. You chose well. You don't need Kaylin to know it. You need it to disturb her. Not recognition, resonance. Half-elven longevity, religious training, fragments of forbidden cosmology, not knowledge, residue. The key is this: she doesn't remember learning it. That's what unsettles her. Here's a continuation that keeps everything restrained and ominous without turning Kaylin into a lore dump. Kaylin's fingers stilled against the king's brow, just for a breath. Her gaze did not leave gregarious, but something in her posture shifted. A tightening, listening, Abitrea, she repeated under her breath, so faint it might have been mistaken for a prayer. A flicker, like a memory glimpsed through deep water, brushed the edge of her mind. Old ink, salt-stained vellum, a passage half burned from a monastery archive. Not a kingdom, a depth. Her jaw set. The wind struck the windows hard enough to rattle the frames. Arista noticed. Their eyes met, and for the first time since entering the hall, Kaylin did not look certain. Fuck! I hate that I'm training ChatGPT to write my content for me. There are parts of this that definitely work. I don't want to keep, using it. And this is gradually building towards the relationship that I want to have between Arista and Kaylin. Now, the problem with this section, though, is that it's giving me interior thoughts about Kaylin, which I'm not supposed to have. So I can take a good chunk of this out. Because if she doesn't say it out loud, Garrett can't know it. And this is all from Garrett's perspective. Garrett is the only one that we get any kind of inner monologue, inner thoughts about. So the old ink, salt-stained vellum, a passage half burned from a monastery archive, not a kingdom, a depth. I like the way that sounds. That's great. Can't fucking use it in this context. So that all has to come out. But her jaw set. Anything that's physical, that Garrett can see and can clock. Because for somebody who stands around dumbstruck, flapping his jaw and not saying a whole lot, he sees everything. I mean, he's too sensitive. You got to remember, his brother is autistic, so he's probably got some of that like super empathy going himself, which is why he's such a good reporter on everybody else's disposition and why he's too fucking nice. Like he fawns over people. He tries to contain everything and keep everything safe. So flashed across her eyes. Why this works, Kayleen does not confirm anything, she doesn't expose lore, she reacts physically, not verbally. It hints that the church once erased something, it gives Arista the smallest flicker of validation, it plants a future thread. You've now created political suspicion with Albrecht, emotional fracture with Garrett, religious unease with Kayleen, elemental reaction with Storm. That's not a corner, that's a convergence. You want to heighten it one further notch without breaking subtlety, you could add one tiny line from Kayleen, not accusation, not exposition, just instinct. There are names, she said quietly, that were never meant to be spoken above the tide, and that's too specific. Something along those lines. There are names, she said quietly, that were meant to be forgotten. With a tight brow? Is that with a tight brow? Then this beats, as part of my climax, Sister Kaylene mentions Arista's contemptuous behavior and claims of becoming queen. Okay, so this is the final beat. This, whatever comes out of Sister Kaylene at this point, needs to be what finally gets Arista riled up enough for the storm outside to start raging. So that's the what I'm trying to do right now. Who exactly are you? And what do you want here? The half-elf asked with unusual irritation to her otherwise calm, graceful, otherwise graceful disposition. Totally misspelled disposition, and it caught it for me without doing the red line squiggle thingy. Half-elf asked with unusual irritation to her otherwise graceful disposition. Who exactly are you and what do you want here? The half-elf asked with unusual irritation. I just said with unusual irritation and not throw in all that other shit. To her otherwise graceful disposition. Yeah, I don't need to have statements that argue with themselves. I am Arista of the Cursed Isle. Pariah of kingdom I was born to rule. Now I want to marry my prince and see him become king. Lightning crashed. Ominous. Faded as the thunder rolled. Oh, that last image, the shadow distorting. What you need now is control. I'm so close to the end. I'm so close to the end of this chapter. Just kind of stitch it together. Um, the fuck? Explaining to ChatGPT why she calls herself Arista of the Cursed Isle and Pariah of a kingdom she was born to rule. Right now you have, she names Abitria, Kaleen is unsettled, Arista claims exile, lightning reacts, the shadow distorts. What you need now is clarification without explanation. Let's steer this carefully. The shadow moment should not suggest she is still cursed. The curse is broken, so the distortion shouldn't feel demonic, it should feel deep, elemental, old. And someone needs to challenge her claim, not spiritually but politically. Here's a continuation that aligns with her backstory. Kaleen did not flinch by the thunder. Banished, she said. Instead, by whom? Arista's expression hardened, not theatrical now, not playful, by blood. A hush fell heavier than before. The house that ruled Abitria cast me out, she continued evenly. They sealed me to stone and tied and left me to rot in memory. Garrett's hand moved, not to restrain her, but to take hers. The contact steadied something in the air. The curse was not mine, Arista said, her gaze never leaving Kaleen. It was theirs. Another rumble rolled across the sky, distant this time, not violent. Watching. Albrecht folded his hands behind his back. And now, she said, voice cool as glass, the displaced heir of a hidden kingdom wishes to sit beside ours. There it is. Not witch, not demon, political liability. Okay. I can work with this. Kaleen did not flinch by the thunder. Banished, she said instead. By whom? Spacing. Arista's expression hardened. Not theatrical now, not playful. My blood. Actually, it's... A hush fell heavier than before. The house that ruled Abitria cast me out, she continued evenly. They sealed me to stone and tied and left me to rot in memory. Yeah, actually, let's do that. Garrett's hand moved, not to restrain her, but to take hers. The contact steadied something in the air. Is theirs. Call it jealousy or spite. Perhaps justice. Violent, hungry. Albrecht folded his hands behind his back, and now, he said, voice cool as glass, a displaced heir of a hidden kingdom wishes to sit beside ours. By usurping the crown prince in favor of the second son. The crown suits him better. Arista replied, Arista. Pleaded in a tight whisper. I would never. I couldn't. Then toward the dais. Addressing everyone in the room, he concluded, I have no desire to wear the crown. She's stubborn. You see, I will convince her. Stop saying such Another bolt of lightning flashed outside, and thunder rolled and rattled the window frames. I was born to rule, she said flatly. I was forged for it, stripped of it, left to decay in salt and stone while lesser blood sat where I should have. The air howled outside. I did not survive exile to stand beside a man who shrinks from what he is. Words are not cruel. Words were cruel in their certainty. Certainty. Albrecht's gaze flicked between them, calculating. Kaleen watched Garrett now, not Arista, because this was no longer about ancient names. It was about him. Garrett's jaw worked. I do not shrink, he said carefully. I choose. Peace and simplicity. And choosing causes the kingdom you love to suffer under a buffoon. Silence swallowed the hall. Except for Elaine and Giselle, who balked. No, that's not. Isn't that a word? Balked? No. Balked. Like chickens, but could not find their words as their round faces grew red. It hammered. We can have a very comfortable life. See, and this is one of these chapter endings where I'm like, there's a whole nother chapter to write here. There's a whole nother chapter that needs to follow up. That's Garrett and Arista having to talk about this very thing in private. And I have the seed of it. I have the kernel of it planned. I think I planned on writing it for another section. But, yeah. They need to have another discussion. Damn it. Fuck. This is an emergent chapter I gotta write. Son of a bitch. Hey, darling.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm done with that gym. I'm heading your way unless you don't want me to come over.
No, if you want to come over, come over.
I do.
Okay.
I'm also pretty damn hungry. Did you eat already?
No. I had a late potato at like 4:30, but no, I have not eaten since then.
Okay, I think I'll get something Greek.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Sound good?
Yep, sounds fantastic.
Oh.
I'm just finishing up the chapter that I'm on, and as I'm putting in the final words, I'm like, God damn it, there's a whole nother chapter I need to write after this one. Another emergent chapter. Yeah. And I'm like, this
Are you
is
sure
the
you
way.
can't put it in it?
No, it's the next scene that I have in mind. Like, it's something that I had in mind. I wasn't sure. I thought I was going to put it in at a later point. So maybe I'm writing a chapter in my outline that was going to come later, sooner, which is better because I'm getting to the end of the first third act and I have to create some kind of tension. Like, romantic tension is an absolute requisite. And it's another fight between Garrett and Arista. Because she just set off a fucking bomb in the middle of the court. So I have to, like, yeah, I gotta deal with the consequences, the backlash. I have to put a rift between them so they have romantic tension to work through later in order to actually have a story.
And a good sex scene afterwards. Wait. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm extra sweaty. This was a good gym
Yeah?
workout. It was intervals, lots of different equipment I've never used before. There's this one thing that's replicates skis.
Really?
But it's just pulling this two handles down in a ski-like motion.
Yeah.
And then it has a little fan on the bottom so it powers itself.
Yep.
Like a piano kind of machine or
Yeah,
whatever.
I've seen those, yeah.
Yeah. And so you're just ripping this thing down, just ripping it down, kind of thing. And he comes over 2 times. And he's like, oh, damn, you're at 250. And I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, that's really good.
Your revolutions per minute?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Yeah. I didn't get all that question answered. But yeah, so the guy that owns the gym is a guy that trains other trainers to train athletes.
Oh, awesome.
So he's super hardcore, and then he's got a twin brother that also has a gym and is with accident, and that's when they started together, and now he's with the one here. But the part of it that I think is so funny about the whole situation is it's the old Kenny's. Kenny's is where I used to buy candy with Lisa when we were kids.
Oh, wow.
So
Well,
it's
okay.
the same fucking room that I used to buy candy bars in every other day.
That's okay. That's appropriate then.
Well, it's so funny because the YMCA that I am at is I used to have bang at when I was a kid. So it's just finding these places that I would spend my childhood in, and now I'm going back to them as an adult, and they're different.
Yeah. Well, they're still serving you then. Yeah. So, yeah, you're going to grab Greek, and I am going to figure out the outro of this chapter. I'm on the very last beat right now.
Okay, I'll let you go.
So, yeah, I want to get this done before you get here. So, love you. See you in a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, notice what this does. She frames kingship as destiny, not ambition. She challenges Garrett's reluctance. The tension shifts from court politics to relationship fracture. Kalian and Albrecht both become observers of Garrett's character. Now the real drama is Garrett a reluctant prince or a hidden king? Because Arista doesn't want power, she wants strength. If you want to soften her edge slightly to avoid making her unsympathetic, you could tweak her earlier line, I will not bind myself to smallness, Garrett. That's less crown-hungry, more identity-driven, but if she's meant to be sharp here, leave it. There's a defining scene. One more option if you want to inject vulnerability beneath her steel. After I will be married to a king. I've already lived once without a throne. I will not live small again. This reminds us that she suffered. Cutting him with her words. Can only wheeze and raise his tired hand. Whether in objection or agreement, Garrett couldn't tell. Queen Gwendolyn spoke. Her words absolute and calm despite the raging calm but mightier than the thunder outside. Appears you two have much to discuss. let's discuss about what each of you expects in a spouse. And nobody points to the storm. Oh, Kayleen points it out and mentions the strange weather that they have been having since Arista arrived. Perhaps Kayleen added, as the couple retreated, headed for the doorway, when next we speak, Arista, we should talk about the weather. C, Control V, yes, it's a strong chapter close. You didn't end on lure, you didn't end on spectacle, you ended on fracture. That's mature storytelling. Let me give you a quick breakdown of why it works, and then one very small polished suggestion why this lands. Garrett's line is human. I choose peace and simplicity. That's not cowardice, that's philosophy. It makes the conflict ideological, not moral, which is far richer. Arista's counter is strategic. When choosing comfort causes the kingdom you love to suffer under a buffoon, she reframes his peace as negligence. That's sharp, political, and deeply in character. The storm escalation is perfect. You shifted from weighted to hammered. That single verb change mirrors emotional escalation without over-description. Excellent instinct. The king's failed attempt to speak. That's painful in exactly the right way. You didn't give him clarity, you gave him ambiguity. That keeps tension alive for the next chapter. Gwendolyn's line is elegant restraint. It appears you two have much to discuss. She doesn't scold, she contains. That's queenly. Kayleen's closing line is delicious. When next we speak, Arista, we should talk about the weather. That's not small talk, that's a warning. It implies she noticed the storm, she suspects causation, she intends to investigate. It's subtle and controlled, very strong exit note. One micro suggestion, optional polish. This line, I've already lived once without a throne, I will not live small again, she added, cutting in with her words. To tighten the prose slightly for impact, she added cutting in with the words were meant to cut. I like that. Even sharper, and she meant it to wound because she added softness of blow. You want the last Arista line to feel like a blade. Yeah. Structurally, you ended with romantic tension unresolved, political succession tension unresolved, religious suspicion unresolved, the king unstable, a storm that may or may not be magical. That's a strong chapter, Cliff, without feeling gimmicky. You did not write yourself in a corner. You created pressure lines for the next chapter. Pivotal confrontation between Garrett, private confrontation between Garrett and Arista. Albrecht plotting, Kaleen researching, Abitrea, the king possibly worsening. This is solid middle book escalation. If you like, next we can stress test Arista's character arc or map where this ideological conflict resolves, compromise, tragedy, transformation, but as it stands, chapter earned. I feel like this just created another emergent chapter, which you already mentioned. The fallout confrontation between Arista and Garrett in private. And Miri was in that scene, but we lost sight of her with all that high drama. So there needs to be one more shot with Miri where she just turns and nervously bows or curtsies or something to the throne and then scurries out after them. Yes, it absolutely did, and that's not a mistake. That's story pressure demanding release. You cannot leave that argument unresolved without emotional whiplash. The court scene was public ideology. The private scene must be vulnerability. Here's the key shift. In public, they argued about crowns. In private, they argue about fear. If you keep it political, it becomes repetitive. If you make it personal, it becomes devastating. What the scene is really about, not who becomes king, why Garrett resists it, and why Arista cannot. He wants peace because he fears becoming his father. No. She wants power because she knows what happens without it. That's the spine. The emotional engine. Garrett's hidden fear, watching the crown hollow his father, seeing the cost of rule, maybe fearing he lacks the strength. Okay. Garrett's not afraid to become his father, but knows that his father did not want the crown. Remember, Gregarious wanted to be a bard. Garrett genuinely does not want the responsibility that comes with being king. Oh good, that's much stronger than fear. This isn't cowardice, it's philosophy. Garrett doesn't avoid the crown because he's afraid of power, he avoids it because he understands what it costs. He sees kingship as service. Arista sees kingship as stewardship. They're not opposites, but they feel like they are. It makes your private confrontation far more nuanced. Garrett's belief a king belongs to everyone, Arista's belief a king must be strong enough to belong to no one. That tension is elegant. So the Fallout chapter should not be explosive, it should be intimate and principled. Here's a direction that honors both of them. The chamber door shut. The storm feels distant now, a constant percussion against stone. Garrett runs a hand through his hair. You spoke as though I am meant to see something. I spoke as though you are meant to stop pretending you are not what you are, Arista replies. He turns to her. I do not want it. I know. That stops him. I do not want the weight of every harvest, every border, every famine laid at my feet. I do not want mothers kneeling to me for justice I may fail to give. I do not want to choose which villages starve in winter. His voice didn't rise. It tightens. That is not ruling, he says quietly. That is carrying everyone. Arista watches him carefully. And you would carry them well. He laughs once, not amused. You mistake reluctance for virtue. No, she says. I recognize mercy. She steps closer. You see the crown as a burden because you understand the people beneath it. That is precisely why I should not wear it. That, she says firmly, is exactly why you must. Silence. He studies her. And what of what I want? Her jaw shifts. What you want is a simple life. Yes. And you believe the world would lead you to it? That lands. This keeps him intelligent, ideological, in love, frustrated, no melodrama, no villainizing. The emotional pivot. If you want to deepen it, have Arista admit something vulnerable, not I want power, but I will not watch another kingdom fall because a good man refused to stand. And that line connects her exile trauma to her reluctance. She's not power hungry, she's protective. The ending beat of the chapter. You want a line that lingers. Possibilities. Garrett, if I take the crown, it will not be because you demand it. You take the crown, it will be because you understand that kindness is not weakness. Or even quieter, Garrett, you would make me king. Arista, no, I would remind you you already are. That last one, very strong. Okay, yeah. What makes this dynamic compelling is Garrett defines kingship as service, Arista defines kingship as strength. But the best rulers are both. This isn't a fight about ambition, it's a debate about what kind of world they want to live in, and that's far more powerful than a shouting match. If you want, we can now shape. This conversation softens him and plants the seed that eventually changes his mind. plan is they argue, and like always, Garrett assumes it will lead to sex, but Arista denies him and says she will only make love to a king. This creates sexual tension. And resistance. Hey, what's up? How you doing? I am finally done with Chapter 5 and doing a little bit of chatting with ChatGPT about where I'm thinking about going with the next chapter. Because I have another emergent chapter that popped up, and now I'm hashing out ideas with it right here. So big blow up in the court. And Arista made a scene and basically announced to everybody she wants Garrett to become king. And they hashed it out. Garrett doesn't want to be king. He's the second son. He just wants a nice, quiet, easy life with the girl of his dreams. And she's insisting she will be married to a king. And so now there's a fallout fight or argument where they have to have, and I'm thinking because I lack some romantic tension, like a whole will they won't they thing, she has to cut him off sexually, so that builds tension in the story. So I'm trying to figure out like if that's a good direction to go, if that's not enough fan service. Yeah. So where are your books available? Are you on Amazon? Or are you through another distributor? This is smart, not because of sex, but because of power rebalancing. If you do this correctly, the denial isn't manipulation, it's boundary setting. Yeah. The danger would be making Arista seem transactional, earn the crown, earn my body. Buy me a coffee. You mentioned that. Okay. Buy me a coffee. I'll have to check that out. My messy notes. The danger would be making, the strength is making it about alignment. Do you do anything in print? Really? What made you stop? Strength is about alignment. If she says it coldly, she becomes calculating. If she says it vulnerably, she becomes devastating. You want the moment to feel like this. Garrett assumes reconciliation will follow the usual pattern. Tension dissolves physically. Arista refuses because this argument actually matters. That's growth. Ah. Okay. See, I like having the I like that. I don't even care that they're my words. I just like this. Yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of my physical stuff out there floating in the world. Here's how you might structure the scene so it lands mature and charged rather than petty. The chamber is quiet now. The storm feels distant. Garrett steps closer, voice softer. We're angry, he says gently. That doesn't mean we are divided. His hands finds her waist out of habit. She lets him for a moment. Then she removes his hand. Yeah. I gotta play with it. Because Why? Why does this book have to keep spawning chapters on me? See, I wish I could. This was supposed to be a novella, but it's a novel. It told me in chapter 2 this was a novel, not a novella. I wanted something that was going to be short, that was Kindle Unlimited ready, you know? Like, you don't make it too many words, but you make it as many pages as possible with making your lines poetic, so your paragraphs are shorter, so you just naturally take up more space, a lot of intrigue, and just try to, like, sell that way. And, yeah. But yeah, I know I'm in a dying breed. Like, I want to write because I want something that's going to stand amongst the classics. Like, my magnum opus, what I really want to make is a book series that will stand between Dante and Milton, or rather I should say Milton and Dante. So, like, if you read Paradise Lost and you want to read Dante's Inferno, then I have a series that you would read right in the middle of it that kind of bridges the gap between the two and shapes hell itself. That's, yeah, it's my someday. That's my next year. I want to start working on that. I want to finish this series. I want to sell this series and make money on it, and then focus on what I really want to create, which is humanities. Stuff that's designed to become classics. But hardbacks, I haven't done hardbacks yet. Maybe the series I was just talking about. I like my paperbacks though. I do wish I would have made this smaller. This is a 6x9, and the other day I was donating plasma, and I decided to pocket some Shakespeare to read while I was doing that, and it was so nice having a book that was a little bit fatter but shorter and smaller that I could just pop into my pocket. Love that. Oh, really? That's where the viewers are. Streamboo. I didn't know. I've never seen that before. I didn't know. But yeah, reading The Taming of the Shrew for research, because that's one of my heavy influences on this current book that I'm working on. I'm trying to do something that's The Taming of the Shrew mixed with Sherlock Holmes. Okay. Yeah, because I'm a little worried in my romance novel that I got going right now. Like, there's not enough romantic tension because there's been too much sex. It's been too easy between them. Like, they use it as a way of conflict resolution. They use it as a way of everything. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that as being frustrating. That's a bummer. That's a real bummer. But I really got to get into the audio. That's the next beast, and really I should try and get that done May. Yeah, Yeah, I should be looking into that now, actually. But it's so much. It's always so much. There's getting the author page set up. There's the Substack. Trying to set up funnels and email lists and all that fun stuff. Hey, darling.
Hello.
But I gotta go. I got company. So it was awesome seeing you again, Stokes. Thanks for popping in. I'll be back later. I mean, not tonight, but later, temporally, in the future. Okay, Lou. All right. You have a good evening. Where are you, old ass? There we go.